and urge you to feel at home and learn from what you see here. Next order.
Order number 9, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023. First reading. A bill for an act of parliament to consolidate the laws relating to regional development, to provide for establishment, powers and functions of regional development bodies, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the management and regulation of conflict of interest and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 16 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Order number 12, the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the coordination of the public institutions in the control of food and feed safety, to establish the Office of the Food Safety Controller, to provide for the role of county governments in food and feed safety and for connected purposes. Order number 13, the Privatization Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for regulatory framework for the privatization of public entities, to establish the Privatization Authority and for connected purposes. Order number 14, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2023-2024 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes. Order number 15, motion, consideration of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 26 constituencies. Resumption of debate.
Order, honorable members. Before we resume the debate, Honorable Wanjiku Muya has a short statement to make. Go ahead, Wanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as you are aware that Kenya is a member of East Africa.
Order, honorable members who are caucusing, the Kamkunji on my right.
And honorable members, this is very important. The Committee of Experts on the Constitutional Amendment for Political Confederation is ongoing here in Kenya and East Africa. And Parliament is expected to give your views. As such, the Office of the Clerk has mandated the Committee of Regional Integration to write a memoranda and give the views to this constitutional amendment. In that case, honorable members, we are inviting your views either through our committee or through the clerk's office so that we can enrich this constitutional amendment. For clarification, the East African is built on 4 pillars: custom union, common. The summit, which is the highest level of governance in East Africa, gave a directive that we have political confederation as a transition before we engage to full-fledged political federation. And in that case, the confederation requires a constitution to guide the community, and so it is so critical to have your views. Any person, any member of goodwill, we welcome you through the office of the clerk or the committee, particularly the lawyers in this house. Give us your views so that we take to Arusha a very enriched memoranda which will be considered in this constitutional amendment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wanjiku Muya, my record shows that on this motion on consideration of reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of NGCDF, the Honorable Jen Kihara was on the floor and had a balance of 6 minutes. Is Jen Kihara in the house? If Jen Kihara isn't, the next will be Phyllis Bartow. I see you are top on the list. So you are among those who just keyed in case you get a chance on any issue.
Mr. Speaker,
You are not ready for this?
no, I had been given an opportunity to present my views.
Already?
Yeah.
You are top on then disengage from the equipment. John Kawanjiku. It appears Kawanjiku is ill prepared for this. Then disengage. Wilberforce Oundo. Had you keyed in to speak on this? Honourable members, this system of ours, before Oundo speaks, I have asked the House Business Committee that they may have to design a better system of electronic queuing to speak, so that at the end of every order, we wipe the screen and then you key in order of your interest. Because some of you come in at 1:30, 2 o'clock, block the screen and walk away. Or block the screen and you are not ready to speak. Oundo, you are ready for this?
Okay, I'm not
Give
so sure.
Oundo,
I need to check.
Honorable
Speaker.
Oundo, unfortunately you have already spoken. On
Yeah,
this
that's
motion.
what I was thinking. My memory doesn't serve me wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Samuel Atandi. Have you keyed in to speak on this? No.
Honorable Speaker, I don't want to talk on this one.
Peter Kihungi.
Yeah.
No. Doña Doris. No. Clear yourselves from the screen. Gertrude Mbeyu. Don't see her. Kibet Komingoi. Geoffrey Ruku. Geoffrey Mulanya. Amazing. Zamzam. Zamzam Chimba. Not Peter Orero of Kibra. He's not here. Robert Bukose. Give the floor to Honorable Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this report of the Special Funds Accounts Committee on financial report, auditor's report for the financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, 2015-2016 for the counties of Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Taita Taveta, Lamu, about 26 constituencies. Honorable Speaker, on the report of these constituencies, which have been funded by NGCDF, there were many issues that I think it's very important, especially for the honorable members to understand. More often, you find that you have reports indicating that maybe a certain constituency is not doing well. It is not the member who is responsible for the day-to-day NGCDF financial runnings. And it is very wrong at times to blame the honorable members on some of those mismanagement in as far as constituencies are concerned. When you look at this auditor's report, the accounting officer for those constituencies are the constituency funds managers. And it's very important that every member, whenever the financial reports are tabled by the Auditor General, that the honorable members are able to look at it. And what we observed in many of these reports is there were delays in as far as release of the funds to the constituencies. And this has tracked on up to today. Because as we speak today, Honorable Speaker, many constituencies have received less, almost all the constituencies have received less than a half of what they deserve. And Honorable Mbui raised an issue in the, when you gave your statement about reports from the head of state. And I think it is important that honorable members receive their share allocation of the CDF funds so that those projects which we had committed to do them, we are able to do it within the specified period. When you look at some of the reports, in the CDF, in those various constituencies, we looked at that there is duplication of projects. A project which was funded by CDF has also been funded by the Equalization Fund, where you find that a dam, which was supposed to have been done by CDF, has also been allocated money for the Equalization Fund. Then you wonder, how did the Equalization Fund, what is it that was done by Equalization Fund, and what is it that was done by the NGCDF? So that issue of co-funding, I think, is a big major issue that should be looked into. We also were able to look at some of the reports in some constituencies which were not able because of, you look at a constituency which is not able to expand because in some of the constituencies like Mfita, when you look at its report, Mfita is already exhausted. There are no new schools which are being built. The NGCDF is now building walls and other amenities, swimming pool, walls, doing electricity and other things. While in another constituency, there is even no funds to construct a classroom. Students are reading they are reading in a tree. One classroom is even not complete. So these are issues that there is a lot of disparities. And when we came back in the last parliament, there are some things that were done in making that CDF be done on ward levels. Yet some of the wards have a higher population than, even if you have 6 wards and somebody else has 3 wards, the population numbers within those wards are not the same. And therefore, you find that people end up with disparities in terms of even disbursement of bursaries and other services. So, Honorable Speaker, CDF or NGCDF has done tremendous things within these 26 constituencies in the coastal region that you are able to see, that you are able to feel. And therefore, I think we should be able to continue doing more audit reports, looking at what CDF has done, and really appreciating the services that the Wananchi are getting through CDF. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support the report of the committee.
Order, honorable members. Order. The chair for the Finance Committee is now in the House. Allow me to interrupt the debate and allow him to table his report and give notice of motion. Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023, the report of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its vetting of a nominee for appointment as Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya.
Thank you. Go ahead and give the notice of motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give the following motion. I beg to give notice of the following motion: that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, laid on the table of the House this Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023, and pursuant to Section 13(1) of the Central Bank of Kenya Act, Cap 491, and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, that this House approves the appointment of Dr. Kamau Thuge, CBS, as the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kimani. Kawanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity first to appreciate you for giving me this opportunity so that I can be able to contribute towards this motion of great importance to our constituents and to our people within the constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is true that the Auditor General have done his part, but we need to appreciate the work that is being done by the Auditor General to make sure that there is transparency and accountability in terms of these funds, so that every time that even if the work of the member of Parliament is not to oversee the whole kitty of the CDF, but he has a very important role of making sure that he patronaged the whole issue of the CDM, Mr. Speaker. And we have seen quite a number of development in terms of infrastructure and work being done by this fund, Mr. Speaker. We have seen also serious development in terms of school infrastructure, making sure that we have modern schools and modern classrooms, whereby we are able to accommodate quite a number of students who are schooling within our constituency, increasing the number of uptake from public primary school to public secondary school, and making sure that there is 100% transition from our primary school to our secondary school, Mr. Speaker. This work cannot be done without the CDF fund. Among the many funds that we have within our republic, one of the funds that has been well utilized, Mr. Speaker, is the NGCDF fund that is oversighted by the Member of Parliament from this country, Mr. Speaker. Also, we have seen serious development, Mr. Speaker, in terms of renovations, in terms of making sure that we have given our students enough infrastructure to make sure they are comfortable even when they are schooling and even when they are doing their studies within our public primary school, Mr. Speaker. The issue of the CDF also deals with in terms of security, making sure that, Mr. Speaker, we have enough police posts, we have enough police stations. We are looking into issues to do with those developments so that also we can be able to house our police officers and our policemen, and also has been a very, very big issue within our republic and within our constituency. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, I think we also need to look at, in terms of fairness, how we distribute these bursaries, Mr. Speaker, in our constituency. Sometimes we realize that we have so many members. For example, in my constituency, Kiabak constituency, I have 120,000 voters, Mr. Speaker. And you realize the amount of money that we get for bursaries is not to let some students go without the bursaries, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we will recommend, and with time, we are going to bring to the floor of this House an amendment to this this NGCDF Act so that we can be able to separate between the bursary and the infrastructure development of the CDF, Mr. Speaker, whereby we will make sure that any student within the Republic of Kenya can get an equal share of the bursary, whether you are in Kiambaa or whether you are in Uasin Gishu, whether you are in Wajir, the amount of bursary that each and every student gets allocated to him from the Constitutional Development Fund, we make sure that all over the Republic is the equal amount of money that all the students are able to receive within the Republic, Mr. Speaker. And I therefore say that we'll bring this amendment and make sure that we support the bursary, make sure that we support the NGCDF so that we can separate the bursary and the infrastructure. And we make sure that even the board itself has been able to audit and to make sure that all the students within the Republic of Kenya are able to get same allocation of bursary wherever they are, so that we can make sure that there is fairness and there is equity in terms of how this NCDF is distributed. Some of us in our population, Mr. Speaker, we have a constituency like Ruiru. We have a constituency where you have more than 2,200 voters, Mr. Speaker. But the same amount of money you receive for the CDF from a constituency that has 25,000 voters is the same amount the person who has 120 or 250,000 voters is receiving, Mr. Speaker. And therefore it becomes very difficult in terms of how do you distribute these resources to all those members of your society. We had an incident whereby when people were coming to pick for bursaries form, we even lost a parent, Mr. Speaker, because it was on first come, first serve, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we support the transparency and the accountability and whatever the Auditor General is doing, but we also make sure that there is equal distribution in terms of the resources, in terms of how much money we received as a member, as a NGCDF, wherever we are, whatever the constituency, so that we can make sure that, Mr. Speaker, there is that equity and fairness in terms of the distribution. Therefore, the work the NGCDF is doing is amazing. You go to our constituencies, you'll see the boards all over that there is presence of the CDF or the money of the CDF wherever we are within our constituency. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I like to support. Thank you.
Kawanjiku, Owen Bayer.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this motion that discusses the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 26 constituencies that are basically at the coast region for the period 2013 to 2016. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I need to note is this is for the 11th Parliament. This report covers the 11th Parliament, and actually they are late. I just hope that the committee in charge of CDF now will be able to give us reports on time. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I happen to have participated on this report when my friend Dr. Pokose came visiting at the coast to oversee, or to, when they were doing the audit, they were following on the audit queries. And I went around with Dr. Pokose, and I saw the kind of projects that were done and the issues that were raised. Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that CDF has significantly contributed to the development of this country, and more so at the coast where this report, which this report talks about. Honorable Speaker, constituencies that for many years had not been developed have seen development because CDF is there. One of them is the Ganze constituency, which this report reports on. We have seen some level of development there because CDF has been there. The many constituencies in the coast and the region generally, if you look at government investment in these constituencies, you'll actually see that it is investment through CDF. And we want to commend the government, and we want to commend the NGCDF board for the good work. Mr. Speaker, it is also worth noting, although many court cases have been, people have gone to court to challenge CDF, but there's one thing that we can never escape from, that CDF has helped communities in terms of bursaries, Mr. Speaker, in terms of development of schools, in terms of development of police stations, in terms of development of environment and youth. Today, a youth in a remote area in Ganze or in Kilifi North can have a football, can wear a football jersey because NGCDF has provided those facilities. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that the usage of CDF is the matter of this report, how prudent the resources have been used. There are times when we worked with Honorable Pokose and we saw the shame on how members actually implemented CDF project, where you are told that a school should have been built here, but you go there, there is no school. So I want to ask NGCDF to actually strengthen the audit component so that as NGCDF committees are given money, there is good audit to ensure that the resources are used very well. We have seen, Honorable Speaker, I will tell you, I'll tell this House that my constituency has benefited immensely from CDF, and under my stewardship of CDF, I think we have done a commendable job. We have developed schools. We have developed very good infrastructure for schools, for chiefs, secure for police stations. You know, things that can be seen tangible in terms of development. What I would like to say is to ask governors that are given resources, actually more resources, that through county government we would like to see more development. But I want to say that, lastly, I want to say that NGCDF has seen families that would not have taken their children to school. Now those children are in school and are retained in school and are able to finish up to Form 4 and are able to actually come home and say, I have qualified, I have a qualification. Kids who have gone to university because of NGCDF. So I would like to ask those litigants, those perpetual litigants who are always running from one courtroom to the other to try to stop CDF, that they need to stop these shenanigans and allow Kenyans to experience the magic of NGCDF. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Baya. Sarah Korere.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I also want to add my voice to this audited reports of the CDF. And I want to take a particular concern in the Speaker on how these reports sometimes are released to the public, even without this House having a look at it. And Honorable Speaker, sometimes when some things are not verified, and you see a very big column in the newspaper that MPs are stealing from the CDF. And Honorable Speaker, I want to believe there is no sane MP who can steal from the CDF. And Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Bias mentioned, some of the constituencies that have been marginalized over the years have really benefited a great deal from CDF. And Honorable Speaker, I hope even in future or very soon, this House will revise the amount allocated to NGCDF. Because when you come to some of our constituencies, the only trace of development you can see is what NGCDF has done. And NGCDF is a very classical example of what devolution can do, of what devolved funds can do. So, Honorable Speaker, we really wish to reiterate that even as members are grappling this year without the release of NGCDF, I think we should even add more monies to this NGCDF. Mr. Speaker, you know marginalization is real in this country. And when you come to some of our constituencies and some of the places we come from, marginalization has even been devolved. And that is why you hear the likes of Kuria asking for their own county. Even like Laikipia North would want to have our own county. But Honorable Speaker, there is no single constituency in this country that is not benefiting from the NGCDF funds. So, Mr. Speaker, I would really want to add my voice and say we would wish to add the percentage that is being devolved to NGCDF, and I urge my colleagues to be very, very diligent on how to use that NGCDF to make sure that places like Tiati will get more schools, more children go to school, so that we don't manufacture bandits year in, year out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You did him ask.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say that when you go through these reports by the Auditor General, you cannot doubt every single wording that has been put there, Mr. Speaker. And even as we all agree that NGCDF has done a very good job across this country, some of the audit queries raised, they touches on the competency of the accounting officers who actually fund account managers, Honorable Speaker. And it is very important that when the board recruits fund managers, they should be able to get very competent fund managers, because when these reports comes out and they have got very flimsy audit queries, people think that the member of parliament is to blame for all those audit queries. Yet our role is clearly stated in the law. Honorable Speaker, is to provide oversight. So as a House, we should not, and even I want to challenge the NGCDF committee, that they should also be keen to ensure that any fund manager whose accounts has been audited and they are very flimsy audit queries raised, such people, they should be put to account, they should be trained further, so that we don't allow the very flimsy audit queries to dent the reputation of the very good impacts that NGCDF is doing. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, we are almost moving to the, we are almost at the tail end of the financial year. We kindly urge Treasury to release the pending money for NGCDF, so that even new members of parliament can begin to rubber stamp their entry into political leadership by at least launching projects within their constituency, because as we speak today, Honorable Speaker, there is nothing they can write home about, and we hope that our economy will quick to improve, so that the money can keep flowing and we can keep to continue paying our bursaries for our children, continue building and improving our educational infrastructure for various schools across this country. And as I finish, Honorable Speaker, I wish that even county governments, they should borrow a little on how NGCDF is managed, so that we also don't want to hear of situations where we have pending bills, projects that were abandoned by some previous people, projects that are initiated and they have no impact to the people. With these very few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I wish to support this motion.
Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I write to add my voice, though you've surprised me a little. I thought it would take a longer time, so I'd not crystallized my thoughts.
You are nearly on the top of my screen.
But I think the work that we do with the NGCDF is quite clear, can be seen everywhere. But so far we've had some difficulties implementing most of the projects because of the economic situation of the country. I would just like to add my voice and urge that whatever can be done as soon as possible so that we get all the funding and initiate or commence all the projects we had for this financial year, the better for everybody. I hope it will be done soon so that it doesn't become an obstacle to the business that lies ahead of us, that we all understand how important it is. In fact, I hope it is being prioritized wherever the decision makers are so that the funds would be released as soon as possible to the various constituencies. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Agnes Pareyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the report, to the auditor's report on NGCDF. And NGCDF is a fund that is really helping in our constituencies. Most of the work that is done in our constituencies are by using these funds from NGCDF. If it were not for these funds, some of our children could be studying under a tree. But because of the NGCDF, they are now able to have classrooms, and our people are benefiting from bursaries. And that's why I stand to support and say that NGCDF is a fund that is being seen in all our constituencies. And through you, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Treasury to release these funds because we have not been able to make use of these funds. And in the report, I think some of the comments that are in the report are not from the members of parliament. And therefore, we need to have competent officers that can be able to manage these funds and do the reports at the right times and do the right things. Because we have officers who are not competent, who come to our constituencies, and sometimes they don't even know what they are doing. So I think it is important for the management to make sure that the officers that we have in our constituencies know what they are doing and are able to account for this money the way it's supposed to be done. So I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Before I give the next, I want to allow the chair of the Committee of Budget and Appropriations to table your report and give your notice of motion. I had stayed your order on your request. Are you ready? There you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House, Tuesday, 6th June 2023. Report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term, including a compendium of departmental committee reports on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2023-2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead and give notice of motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates for the national government, the judiciary, and parliament for the financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. A, approves the issuance of sum Kenya shillings 2,308,410,974,957 shillings from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2024 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph C, Committee of Supply. B, make the non-financial resolutions as contained in the report. C, makes financial resolution as contained in the second schedule. And D, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You can proceed and lay your documents. Now I'll give the floor to Lillian Sioi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. I would also wish to put my input. I would like to say that we need to check on the procurement process, because this is one part that has really affected the NGCDF programs, because it takes time at times to identify the merchant or the contractor, and by the time the work is being awarded to this person, probably takes too long until the project overstays. And as my fellow MP said earlier, you realize that when the project takes too long, at times it might be taken over by another program. So this is one thing that we need to check on. And secondly, I also want to say that this fund has been of great help to the community. But there is one aspect that we've not been taking into consideration, because mostly we go by the number of the electorates in that region. But actually we also need to check on the level of poverty, because when it comes to infrastructure, there are areas that are more developed than others, which makes other MPs look like they're not working, because you realize that most of your parents in those schools are very poor, and the school is depending on NGCDF. But other schools, the parents, during their AGM, they sit down and at times they collect good amount of money and also contribute towards putting up some infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. So I would wish to say that when we are allocating, especially when it comes to bursary money, we need to allocate based on the level of poverty of an area, because these are the students that are really needy, and they need more of bursary than just some allocation for the bursary. Because at times we give them money for the bursary. For example, you might give each student 5,000 and the school fees is around 40,000. Towards end of the term, that child has been returned home because the parent is not able to raise the balance. And to me, it's like we are not even helping those ones who are purely poor and cannot afford this amount of money. So we need to do some amendments and ensure that those schools that are highly poor are given more money than other schools that are better placed. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Sioi, Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really looked into the report as well, and any areas that have audit queries, I think it's just a shame, because if there is anything that has left an impact in our regions in Kenya, it is through the NGCDF. Most of the members of parliament have improved socio-economical ways of our people through this fund, and all the people who were maybe hopeless in their lives, through this fund, they can now actually count a blessing, because they could see that they can chase their dreams through bursaries, and most of the buildings that look better or in a standard way have been built by this fund. And that is why I was looking at the report, and I'm like, if everybody here, like, if we really want Kenya to be equal through this fund, this is one that can make regionally Kenyans to be equal. If you go to Coast or come to Western, you'll find that if it is schools, all the children across the country are being treated the same through the resources that this fund has been enabling the teachers to get, and equipment or buildings that come up. It makes a poor child or a rich child not to be detected easily because of such. So also poverty has been reduced, because there are MPs who have built schools in a modern way in a very remote area that you wouldn't even expect a story building in such an area where even Google Map cannot direct you to. So I think we should up our game as the legislatures by making sure that we implement or use this fund appropriately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the following schools in the public gallery: Kireng Girls from Lari, Kiambu; Holy Trinity Girls, Kapenguria, West Pokot; Karangare High School, Ere North, Embu. In the Speaker's Gallery, St. Anne's Kiboko Girls, Kibwesi West, Makueni; Kerugoya Boys High School, Kirinyaga Central, Kirinyaga. On your behalf and on my own behalf, Yes. On your behalf and on my own behalf, I want to welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Yes, Ruku. If you want to comment on the students, 1 minute.
Students.
Yes, 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Debate.
I thank you for this opportunity to welcome the students of Karangare Secondary Schools and all the students who are in gallery from different schools for them coming to visit this very distinguished National Assembly. We want to encourage them to work hard so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow of this country, and they have a huge responsibility and to assure them that the government of the day is very much committed in investing in education so that they can have a bright future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Innocent Mugabe.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I would want also to contribute to the report that has been tabled on the audit of CDF funds. One thing I would like to say is that as members, we should really appreciate and take the audit issues seriously because it is through these audit checks that we'll be able to realize areas of that have been used in other places and that can be replicated in other areas. And I would like also to challenge, especially the NGCDF board, that after such reports, we need to have forums to share so that members can also learn on innovative ideas and methodologies that are used in certain areas to get best results. So audit checks are very important, and they should not be used for witch hunt, but should be used to help improve on our ways of delivering to the people. On this same matter of NGCDF, Honorable Speaker, we've seen a lot of people have talked about a very positive issues or very positive aspects on this NGCDF fund. Madam Speaker, these funds have clearly displayed that it is one of the best systems or structures in implementing projects at the grassroots level. And it has shown, or we've witnessed, that is actually working. And if something is working and is good and is working for the better of the people of this country, the only best thing to do on it is to improve it. And we've had a number of suggestions on how to improve this particular fund, because its effect is felt at the very grassroots level. And on that, I also want to add my voice in it, that this is one of the funds that should be expanded. We need to increase the percentage of funds that goes to NGCDF, because it has been proved beyond any reasonable doubt that actually these funds work, and these funds work for the people. When you compare NGCDF projects with even national government projects or county government projects, you will find that there's a lot of efficacy of implementation of NGCDF projects compared to others. There is better utilization of public funds through NGCDF as compared to others. So, Madam Speaker, I want to add my voice that this is one fund that should be enhanced. This is one fund that we need to use the system and the structure that is there, capacity build the board, capacity build the fund managers, and help to devolve most of these funds, most of the government funds or government projects through NGCDF. On another level, if we do this right through this system and structures of constituency level, we'll find that members of parliament will have a lot of autonomy in terms of decision making, in terms of representing their people, because they will have proper distribution of development across the country. We will not need to be coerced to make sometimes unpopular decisions in order to get development projects, because we already have those projects at the grassroots, and we will have now proper representation of our people. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mombasa County, Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Asante sana, Madam Speaker. Naomba niweze kuunga mkono mjadala huu wa leo. Na niweze kusema NGCDF ni kwa kweli imesaidia wananchi wetu, hasa kwenye kujengewa mashule, kuangaliwa barabara za ndani na mambo mengi sana. Na mimi ningependa kusema hivi, pengine leo tuzungumzia NGCDF peke yake, lakini Madam Speaker, wewe ukiwa pale kwenye kiti uko kwenye ngafu, na pia tuweze kusukuma na mambo yetu pia ya ngafu. Mgao huu wa CDF umeweza kusaidia sehemu kubwa sana, na kile ambacho naweza kusema ni kuwa nimezunguka hasa katika kaunti yangu ya Mombasa, na ningependa kusema pengine wana upungufu mahali, manake utapata hata hizi skuli wamejenga na kuna zingine hazina hata zile perimeter wall. Kwa hiyo mimi ningependa kusema hivi, msaada umetokea mkubwa sana katika NGCDF, lakini waweze kuangalia ule mkono kama waweza ukavuka kidogo, ili waweze kusaidika zaidi. Hata kama mtu anajenga skuli, basi aweke na ile perimeter wall. Kwa mfano, nimekuwa katika Jomvu High School, Jomvu Secondary, na ni skuli kubwa, lakini wale ni watoto wa kike pale, hawana hata ile fence. Perimeter wall hakuna, na ni boarding school. Kwa hiyo mimi napenda kusema hivi, pengine, na nilivyokuwa pale mwalimu mkuu aliniambia kuwa kulikuwa na lalama kuwa pesa hazikuweza kutosha, zimetosha kidogo kidogo ya kujenga zile dormitories na skuli kidogo, laboratory pia wanahitaji zingine, na wamelia sana kuwa wao wako katika hali hatari ya kuweza kuingiliwa wakati wowote. Kwa hiyo mimi na support mjadala huu, ila nasema hawa wabunge nao pia waongezewe. Na sisi kina mama wangafu pia, manake huwa ikitajwa NGCDF wabunge, mimi na waombeni sisi tukiwapigia upato hapa, na nyinyi pia muangalie kina mama wa kaunti 47 kuwa pia mgao wetu unakuja kwa wakati, manake mpaka sasa na sisi hatujapata mgao na hali ziko tata kule mashinani. Kuna mambo ambayo tunataka kufanya kama kina mama wa kaunti 47, lakini mgao haujakuja, licha ya kuwa mgao wenyewe ni mdogo sana. Kwa hiyo na support mjadala huu. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
Member for Gilgil, Honorable Martha Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support this report and agree with members that NGCDF is one of the models that actually is held not only in the country, but across the globe and the continent, Madam Speaker. Just recently, we were hosting the Zambia delegation led by the Speaker, Madam Speaker, and the one thing that they were keen to learn and implement in their country was that they wanted to ensure they have a model like CDF, and they are trying to craft that law guided by the NGCDF Act, because it is a trailblazer in this area, Madam Speaker. I want to join my colleagues to note that the issues that are seen in the constituencies and in the counties, Madam Speaker, it is mostly NGCDF work that is even more visible than what is even being done by the counties, Madam Speaker. If you compare the over 380 billion that goes to the counties